Today we are diving into one of the most critical and tense developments unfolding in the Middle East. The recent Israeli strike on Hamas-linked figures in Doha has not only escalated tensions across the region, but also triggered a sharp and unexpected reaction from Egypt, a nation that has historically played the role of mediator between Israel, Hamas, and other regional players. This move by Israel has shaken the fragile balance of power, and the consequences are already rippling across the Arab world and beyond. In this video, we will unpack what happened, why it matters, and how Egypt's strong stance in defense of Hamas could transform the dynamics of the ongoing conflict. The Doha strike was a high-profile move by Israel, targeting senior Hamas operatives who were reportedly in Qatar for political coordination and financial discussions. Israel justified the strike as an act of self-defense, arguing that Hamas had been escalating rocket attacks and stirring unrest in Gaza and the West Bank. But carrying out a strike in Doha, the capital of Qatar, was a bold gamble. Qatar has long hosted Hamas leaders in exile and has acted as a channel for negotiations, funding, and international dialogue. By striking in Doha, Israel not only hit Hamas, but also embarrassed Qatar on the global stage, raising questions about its sovereignty and ability to protect those under its political umbrella. The strike immediately angered not only Qatar, but also neighboring states. Yet what surprised many observers was Egypt's sharp and public defense of Hamas. For years, Egypt's relationship with Hamas has been complicated. On one hand, Cairo sees Hamas as an offshoot of the Muslim Brotherhood, which it has fiercely opposed at home. On the other hand, Egypt has always been a central player in managing Gaza's borders, brokering ceasefires, and mediating truces between Hamas and Israel. This time, however, Egypt shifted its stance more decisively in favor of Hamas, issuing strong warnings to Israel and emphasizing that unilateral strikes outside of Palestinian territory were unacceptable and destabilizing to the region. Egypt's defense of Hamas is not necessarily about embracing Hamas ideologically, but about positioning itself as a defender of Arab sovereignty and Palestinian rights. For Cairo, Israel's decision to carry out a strike in Doha crossed a dangerous line. It demonstrated that Israel was willing to extend its military reach beyond traditional battle zones, into the heart of Arab capitals. Egypt, already grappling with economic pressures, political challenges, and security concerns in the Sinai, could not afford to appear weak in the face of such aggression. By stepping up, Cairo sent a message not only to Israel, but also to other Arab states that it is still the region's heavyweight mediator and defender of Palestinian causes. This move complicates Israel's regional strategy. In recent years, Israel had successfully normalized relations with several Arab countries under the Abraham Accords, reducing its regional isolation. Egypt, while already having a peace treaty with Israel since 1979, has generally maintained quiet cooperation, especially in security and intelligence sharing. But the Doha strike threatens to unravel that delicate balance. If Egypt feels compelled to side more openly with Hamas, it could undermine Israel's efforts to keep Arab states divided on the Palestinian issue and weaken the diplomatic gains it has made. The United States also finds itself in a difficult position. Washington has supported Israel's right to defend itself, but the Doha strike raised eyebrows in the State Department. Qatar is a major U.S. ally hosting the largest American military base in the region. By targeting Hamas leaders in Doha, Israel risked undermining U.S. regional diplomacy, especially since Qatar has been instrumental in mediating talks with Hamas, facilitating hostage negotiations, and supporting reconstruction efforts in Gaza. Egypt's strong reaction only adds more pressure on Washington to rein in Israel's more aggressive moves, while still trying to maintain unwavering support for its security. The broader Arab world is watching closely. Countries like Jordan, Saudi Arabia, and the UAE are carefully calculating their responses. While none of them are likely to support Hamas openly, they cannot ignore Egypt's stance. Egypt remains the most populous Arab country and a cultural and political heavyweight. If Cairo is now willing to defend Hamas more openly, it could shift the tone of Arab diplomacy and reignite stronger collective pressure on Israel. That, in turn, could revive the Palestinian issue, which many believed had been sidelined in recent years by regional realignments and the focus on economic cooperation. On the ground in Gaza and the West Bank, Hamas has already been emboldened by Egypt's reaction. For years, Hamas leaders have relied on Qatar, Turkey, and Iran for support, while keeping a wary eye on Cairo's policies. But now, with Egypt stepping in so firmly after the Doha strike, Hamas may see an opportunity to leverage regional backing to strengthen its position against Israel. This could embolden Hamas militarily and politically, making it even harder to achieve any ceasefire or long-term peace arrangement. The people of Gaza, however, remain caught in the middle. Every escalation, whether it is a strike in Doha or retaliation in Gaza, translates into more suffering for ordinary civilians. Blockades, shortages, and instability have left Gaza's population in dire conditions. Egypt's defense of Hamas might provide political cover for the movement, but it does not necessarily translate into relief for the people of Gaza. In fact, with tensions rising, Israel could tighten its restrictions even further, making daily life even more difficult for Palestinians. From Israel's perspective, the strike in Doha was about demonstrating strength and sending a message. Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has faced criticism at home for his handling of Hamas and the broader security situation. By striking in Doha, he sought to showcase Israel's reach and deterrence capabilities, making it clear that Hamas leaders would not be safe anywhere. However, this strategy risks backfiring. Instead of isolating Hamas, Israel may have unintentionally united its adversaries and provoked new challenges from regional powers like Egypt. Internationally, reactions have been divided. Western nations have largely echoed the call for restraint, but many governments have criticized the breach of Qatar's sovereignty. Russia and China, meanwhile, have seized the moment to highlight the instability created by U.S. and Israeli policies, pushing themselves forward as alternative power brokers in the Middle East. This geopolitical competition only complicates the situation further, as multiple external powers now see the crisis as an opportunity to expand their influence. The situation is highly volatile, and every new development could reshape the balance of power. If Egypt continues to defend Hamas so strongly, it could alter the dynamics of Israeli-Arab relations for years to come. This could mean more Arab unity around the Palestinian issue, renewed diplomatic clashes at the United Nations, and increased pressure on the U.S. to moderate Israel's actions. For Israel, the gamble of striking in Doha may turn into a strategic miscalculation, one that isolates it rather than strengthens its security. What is clear is that the Doha strike has opened a new chapter in the Middle East conflict. It is no longer confined to Gaza, the West Bank, or the usual battlegrounds. By extending the fight into Qatar, Israel has raised the stakes for the entire region. Egypt's strong reaction signals that the Arab world will not remain silent, and Hamas will likely use this momentum to push its agenda further. The coming weeks and months will determine whether this escalates into a wider regional crisis or whether diplomacy can pull the situation back from the brink. For now, the region is on edge. Egypt's decision to openly defend Hamas after the Doha strike is a reminder that no conflict in the Middle East stays contained for long. The ripple effects spread quickly, drawing in states, great powers, and ordinary people into a cycle of tension and uncertainty. What began as a single strike in Doha could end up reshaping the entire strategic map of the Middle East, with consequences that extend far beyond the region. And that brings us to the key takeaway. Israel's Doha strike was meant to weaken Hamas and project power. But instead, it has triggered a wave of reactions that could undermine its strategic position. Egypt's decision to defend Hamas so openly is not just about Gaza or Hamas itself. It is about sovereignty, regional influence, and the future of Arab-Israeli relations. As tensions rise, the coming period will be critical to watch, because the choices made now will determine whether the Middle East heads toward greater escalation or finds a way back to fragile stability. If you found this analysis helpful, make sure to share your thoughts in the comments. This situation is evolving fast, and every perspective matters in understanding its broader implications. Stay tuned for more updates as we continue to monitor the Middle East and bring you the latest insights on this rapidly unfolding story.